My mom found new love and got engaged after my dad passed away, but her fiance is 11 years younger than me and is demanding that I call him dad to fulfill his fantasies of being a man. Posted by you/throw_ra_son of sans. My 35M dad died when I was 19, leaving my mom 58F with me and my two siblings. I'm the oldest. It took some time, but eventually, my mom started dating again. We don't live together per se, but our houses back onto each other and have a gate, so it's pretty common for her to offer to do my laundry, for me to go over for dinner, or to look after our dog, things like that. Plus, my siblings and I go over there for dinner every other Friday night or so. A bit after she started dating, the men she's been seeing have gotten younger and younger, but I've never had a problem with them. She's been very open with me and my siblings that she wants to get married again, and we've always been supportive, at least after the initial shocks, lol. The latest guy is by far the most serious. They've been dating since around last June. He proposed at the start of autumn, and they want to get married next summer. Again, my siblings and I are fine with this because it's her life, and we trust him. He's a nice guy, and they clearly love each other. But anyway, long story short, this weekend, her fiancé, let's call him Phil, 24M, calls me and asks if I could come over. I say, yeah, sure, I'll be over after work, assuming he just needs help with some DIY stuff they're doing. When I get there, he calls me sport and says we need to talk. I should mention this is something he does with me and my little brother, calling us things like kid, sport, scout, little buddy, or my personal favorite, red and blue, seemingly out of nowhere. My brother is 30, by the way. He tried it with my little sister, 28F, once and called her princess, but he stopped when she just stared at him. The thing with Phil is that he reminds me a lot of Charlie Day's character in Horrible Bosses. His sole ambition has always been to meet a girl, get married, and have a family. When he told me and my brother this, my brother made a joke about how maybe our mom's going to come up short on the last part, and Phil got very upset, though they made up afterward. So, I go over and ask if my mom's around. He says no, it's just him, and that we really need to talk man to man. I say sure, and he starts talking about how he's always wanted to be a father and raise a son to call his own. Then he drops this bombshell. Now, I know I can never replace your father, the man who made you, but it would mean the world to me if you could call me dad. I'll admit it, I sniggered a little. Then I realized he was serious because he looked like he was about to cry. He didn't drop it, either. I asked if he really meant it, and he got emotional and started talking about what it means to be a man, how his purpose is to have and provide for a family, and how he wants me and my siblings to be part of that family. He reiterated that he'll never replace my father, which, honestly, rubbed me the wrong way a bit, but he's ready to step up and be my dad and provide for and protect me and my siblings. I'm just sitting there thinking, dude, I'm a decade older than you and live in a separate house. I don't need providing for, and even if I did, I don't think a guy a third of my age who works part-time at the hardware store and collects manga is the man to do it. No offense if you're into that, lol. I was a bit taken aback, so I just said, okay, and he got emotional again, but in a happy way, talking about how he wants to go camping, go to a baseball game, I don't even like baseball, Lamau, and how he joined the Lions this year and wants to bring me into it too as his boy. It all just felt so surreal, especially since I'm a Shriner, so all his talk about service and charity isn't the brag he thinks it is. Anyway, I ended it by saying, this has gotten a bit too weird, and went home. He got very upset. I called my brother, and he agreed it sounds weird as hell. Later, my mom called me. She wasn't disappointed, but she admitted it's made Phil very upset and depressed. I told her that if he's embarrassed, he doesn't need to be. I get that he's excited about the marriage, and we can laugh this off as a funny story. She said that wasn't what he was upset about. She said he, and she, to an extent, is upset about the fact he poured his heart out and I rejected him. She said, yeah, it's a bit kooky, but this is how he proves to himself he's a man. I guess I got a bit angry and said something like, first off, it's not my job to certify what's between his legs, and second, this doesn't prove he's a man, it just proves he's a nutjob. I apologized immediately, but she said she didn't want to hear it and hung up. She called back 10 minutes later, we apologized to each other, and she begged me to just go along with it until he has some kids to call his own. I won't go into too much detail here, but she let slip that they plan to try IVF because she's not ready to give up on being a mom just yet. While I, have my own thoughts about whether or not that's a good idea, I'm not here to litigate that. We finished up fine, and I reiterated I'd support her. She agreed that it's definitely a stressful situation for me but begged me to at least think about it. So, here I am. I did think it over, and obviously, I'm going to say no. I had a dad, and he died. Rest in peace, Dad. That's the only dad I've ever needed, ever wanted, and ever will bestow that title on. I'm not asking if someone's being unreasonable or what I should do, more so, what I should say. This clearly means a lot to Phil for some reason, and I deeply love my mom, so I want to try and minimize the damage. Especially since we're still so involved in each other's lives, and they live behind me. How can I make it clear to them, as painlessly as possible, that I think this is weird and borderline offensive? I really don't want to rip the band-aid off because I fear what it might do to the family. Update 4 days later. Anyway, I told both my siblings, and we agreed we'd collectively put our foot down with Phil at our next family dinner next week. This was especially after an incident where Phil referred to my brother as Sport and asked if he wanted to go see a baseball game with him. Admittedly, I was a bit spurred on by what you all said and got involved, pinging him back with, "Aw, no tickets for me, Daddy," sad emoji, and my brother responded with, "Daddy wants me all to himself. Hot, winking face." Phil took a few minutes to respond before saying he was shocked, speechless, and disgusted. He then messaged me in private to say he was utterly appalled and that he'd never disrespect his own father the way you boys did. At that point, I kind of lost it and said, "Right, that's because you're not my father, Phil. You're a 24-year-old man-child dating my mother. You have no right to my respect, especially not the respect a father gets." I immediately apologized but then blocked his number and left the group chat. Apparently, he sent a similar message to my brother, who responded with more daddy stuff, and Phil blocked him. Well, that aside, I don't think that family dinner is going ahead. After the original post blew up, it seems someone from his Lions Club found it and reported it to their chair or whatever, and Phil has either been expelled, resigned, or is in the process of one of the two. He has removed nearly all mentions of the Lions from his social media and no longer mentions being a member. His last post about it was some cryptic goodbye post where he drones on about what it means to be a man in the modern day and the duty of fatherhood bestowed on all men at birth, really weird stuff. My mom called me, half in a panic and half in a rage, about the stuff I'd been telling about him, before breaking down and saying we need to meet. We did, and I got my brother to come over too. I know Phil has temporarily moved back in with his parents in the next town over, but from my understanding, they still want to go ahead with the wedding, though I think that's more because they've already spent money on it. When she said she was determined to have more kids, plural, my brother stepped up and asked if she really thought that was a good idea at her age. I pointed out that, assuming she had the baby next year and lived to 80, they still wouldn't have finished college. She just stammered about how people live longer these days before breaking down crying and admitting she's not ready to give up on mothering due to some deep-seated trauma and fears about the family breaking apart, which I won't go into for her sake. When we reassured her that we weren't going anywhere, she calmed down, and we had a very good, honest conversation. She's agreed to drop the IVF idea on the grounds that it would be too expensive and unlikely to get approved, though she's still adamant it's scientifically possible and believes she should be allowed to do it from an ethical standpoint because she has to win that argument. Instead, she's agreed to look into fostering. My brother and I highly doubt anything will come of that, so we're not too worried anymore. The very good news is that she's also agreed to look into therapy and psychiatric help to deal with her trauma. We've helped get her in touch with a nice lady in town to unpack all of this in a healthier way. At least one person is getting the help they need. I have no idea what's happened with Phil or what's going to happen with him, but I did make it clear to my mom that he is not my dad. He's not even my stepdad. I'm not a kid, and he's never going to be either one outside of legal technicalities. She relented pretty quickly. I think she's finally broken out of her shell, at least, and we've agreed that if things go ahead, that's going to be a huge red line. Though, I don't know if he'll want to be friends with me after all this, lol. Anyway, thanks for the help on the original post, everyone. Edit. Bit of an update, as I can't respond to everyone, but I think the marriage is off. Phil has gone AWOL again and had a huge argument with his family because they demanded he call off the wedding and date people his own age. This apparently made him snap. My mom and I have met his mom and older brother, who said that Phil is very insecure around girls his own age and has never been able to talk to them, hence his preference. This deeply upset my mom, and after some begging from all of us, she has agreed to push the wedding back, though she still wants to keep dating him. I have no idea where Phil is, though his brother assumes he's couch surfing with his D&D friends, who have been sending me and my brother some not so nice messages because, clearly, we're just jealous of his success. If any of you socially inept pricks are reading this, I don't need to chase middle-aged folk because I can talk to boys my own age like a normal person. Peace.